It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Walking Dead Season 11. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the possibility of an alliance being foreshadowed in the latest episode of Season 11. If you haven't caught up to the latest episode that was on AMC Premiere, Season 11 Episode 12, you may not want to watch this video because what I go through in this video will likely spoil some things from that episode for you. So with that said, stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that, let's dive in. So obviously, in the last episode, we had the first face-to-face encounter between Maggie and the leader of Commonwealth, Pamela Milton. Now, a lot of people were actually predicting or speculating that this is gonna be an unfriendly encounter, that those two are not gonna see eye to eye from the beginning. Obviously, this was more so for comic readers who had an idea of what was coming up, and they thought that maybe they're gonna remix it and have Maggie have more of a presence in the Commonwealth story, and for there to be more tension between Maggie and Pamela. And although Maggie has more of a presence in the Commonwealth story in the TV adaptation than the comic version, it doesn't appear that there's that much tension between Pamela and Maggie. At least not as much as we all thought. Obviously, there's differences between them. We learned that they have different ideologies, they have different ways of doing things, they run their communities differently. There's still that mutual respect. These two characters seem to respect one another, even though they may not agree with the other party. Now obviously, at the end of the episode, it was revealed that Maggie said no to the deal that Pamela presented to her about the alliance between Commonwealth, Alexandria Hilltop, and Oceanside, an alliance that Lance is very much in favor of, possibly for his own personal gain. But by doing this, Maggie pretty much made an enemy out of herself. She did have a few people staying with her at Hilltop leave as a result of this decision. But going back to the main conversation here, there seems to be an alliance being foreshadowed between Pamela and Maggie. Even though at this point they don't necessarily agree, I think there's a possibility that they may end up joining forces. Now you may ask, why would they do that? Their alliance could be initiated by something that Lance Hornsby does. Lance wants this alliance, and he's working extra hard to make sure that this alliance is successful. And even though on the outside he's making it seem like he wants this alliance for the good of everyone, there seems to be more personal gains for him. So it's a selfish decision, even though it does have a lot of positive outcomes for other people as well. He even hinted indirectly to Pamela that it'll be her decision to identify who's gonna run this operation and kind of be the mastermind behind it, but he made it pretty clear to her that he wants to be that person. And obviously Pamela shut him down right away when he said that, so she figured it out. She was smart enough to figure it out. But here's where things could get interesting. What if they do a remixed version of the comic story and replace Pamela with Lance? Because at this point, Pamela seems to be a more reasonable person to deal with, and someone who may actually be a good person at heart and working for the good of her community, even though there's a lot of things that she does that the survivors may not necessarily agree with. In fact, if you remember, even before Pamela and Lance butt heads a little bit in the last episode, there were also telltale signs that Pamela doesn't like Lance. And maybe that's because she knows who Lance is, always looking to take advantage of others and have more power at Commonwealth. So the remix here could be, instead of the comic story where the survivors are at direct odds with the leader of Commonwealth, Pamela Milton, it'll be a situation where it's Lance who's at the center of that. A situation where there's direct tension between the survivors and Lance. And Lance could in fact get the Pamela comic story, which also had Rick and Dwight as part of it. In fact, there was a little conversation between Maggie and Lance that made it seem like those two characters could potentially team up and work together. But at the end of that conversation, when Maggie left, there was this facial expression on Lance's face that made it fairly obvious that he had ill intentions and that what he was saying to Maggie wasn't genuine. On the flip side though, the conversation between Pamela and Maggie, it wasn't immediately clear that Pamela was acting or that she had ill intentions. So I think what could end up happening is Lance hires people to take care of Pamela and kill her so that he could take over the Commonwealth, which could either go as planned and that would be a complete remix of the story from the comics, or it doesn't necessarily go as planned and it's still kind of a remixed version of the comic story, but it'll cause conflict internally between Lance and the people that he's with and Pamela and the others, with Maggie, Daryl and the others possibly siding with Pamela. And if they do that, they could still kind of have that story where one of our survivors sides with the other team, and they could do that whole Rick thing or a remixed version of that in some way, shape or form. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. At the end of the day, I think that it's likely that they're doing a very interesting remix of the comic storyline where instead of Pamela being the quote-unquote villain of the story, it'll be none other than Lance Hornsby. What Lance said at the end of the previous episode to Aaron was definitely something that a villain would say. In fact, in the last episode, there were definitely a lot of signs that they're building up Lance to be the villain of the Commonwealth community or the antagonist of the Commonwealth story. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through in this video. I am definitely interested to know your thoughts and opinions about this theory. Do you think that they're replacing Lance and Pamela's story? And do you think that instead of Pamela being the antagonist of the Commonwealth story, it's gonna be Lance? Or do you think that even though it may seem like that at the moment, they're gonna have Pamela and Lance both being on the antagonist side of the Commonwealth story? So share your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.